This is Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, episode number 159. In today's episode, we talk about the 6 mental habits of the thriving, resilient, and unstoppable, or TRU, healthcare leader. Don't miss it.
Welcome back to Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. This is the only podcast that shows you how to leverage polarity intelligence, an essential competency for healthcare leaders, and the missing logic in healthcare, so you can create healthy, healing organizations and become a thriving, resilient, and unstoppable healthcare leader.
We are your hosts, Tracy Christofferson and Michelle Trosett. We've been best friends and colleagues for over 30 years. And during that time, we coached healthcare leaders across North America around how to create healthy, healing organizations.
Today, we coach healthcare leaders and leadership teams to live thriving, resilient, and balanced lives, combat burnout, and create the best places to give and receive care.
This podcast is for the unsung hero of healthcare, the healthcare leader. We want you to know we see you and we'll be here for you each week. In this podcast, we're going to challenge healthcare's industry norms, flip limiting beliefs, and share proven strategies so you can be your best self at work and at home, live and lead intentionally, and experience well-being and joy.
We are glad you are here and look forward to sharing the journey with you. If you aren't totally convinced this podcast is for you, just listen to a few episodes and convince yourself. Welcome, everyone. This is Michelle Trosett, and I'm here along with
Tracy Christofferson.
Yes, Tracy Christofferson. We're back in the podcast studio. So welcome to another episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are.
In the studio.
Look at, we can touch each other.
Yeah.
We're in the studio.
Yeah, last batch we weren't together. We were across the country.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's good to be together. And today we're going to talk about habits.
Oh, habits. Tracy's favorite topic.
Yeah. Well, I think I became really aware of habits about 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So did I.
And the power of the habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And habits. And it's just amazing how habits can influence your life.
Yes.
Don't you think?
I absolutely do think so. And I know we've talked about this before. I never thought about or looked at habits the way I have since we really have been thinking and talking about personal transformation and how significant habits are to transforming.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think what hit me was, what I wasn't achieving because of the habits I had.
Oh, yeah. They block you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
a
lot of times people think about habits as behavioral habits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the things you do, like exercising
right.
or what you're eating or, those kinds of habits. But it's the mental habits that really get you.
Yep. Or you classify it as bad habits or good habits.
Right.
But to your point, mental habits are critical.
Yeah, they are. And that's what we're going to be talking about today is mental habits. So to kind of start out, let's just get clear on what habits are. And in the American Journal of Psychology, now this was back in 1903, they defined a habit from the standpoint of psychology. Mm-hmm. And what they defined it is a more or less fixed way of thinking, willing, or feeling acquired through previous repetition of a mental experience.
Wow.
Ooh. A mental experience. I loved about that definition was the thinking and the willing, right? Like what we will into our lives. And, the thing about habit formation is it's a process that it's where like behaviors or thoughts become automatic over time. And that repetition is the key, right?
It's the repetition.
It's the repetition. And you can develop a habit without intending to develop a habit.
Mm-hmm.
So, you get your habits and sometimes, right, you're not even knowing you're established. It's like, an example is when you go to a restaurant and you order the same thing every time you go there. Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. Right. Like, that's just a simple, analogy of that. Right. But they can be learned and cultivated and also replaced.
Yep, you can start new repetitions.
You can eliminate your habits once you're aware of them. So a lot of this is just really about that heightened awareness of our behaviors, our thoughts, the habits we have that are connected to those, and how we see them influencing our lives, inhibiting us or enabling us, right?
Right. You're really raising it to the conscious level.
Yeah, because our habits are subconscious. Right. They're underground. We don't, when we're not aware of them, right? Then they're automatic. They just happen. Now, the other thing that I love about this is our brains use habits, right? Because it saves energy. Just think about tying your shoes. Just think if you had to learn how to tie your shoes every time you tied your shoes. Now, I don't know. Do people tie their shoes anymore? Maybe
that's true.
Maybe that's not.
All I have is slip-ons.
Maybe that's not a good example. How about riding a bike? Let's do that one. I know people ride bikes. We were just talking about that this morning with Travis. So, if you had to relearn how to ride a bike or relearn how to swim every time you got in the pool, right? That would just that would be awful, right?
You'd never get anywhere.
No, I know. So your brain uses these, ongoing repetitive actions because it believes it's serving you. It saves your energy. You don't have to give as much thought to it. So you want to leverage that as much as you can, right, to move yourself forward. And I think just the ability to learn a habit and develop a habit that will empower you as a leader is really, one of the biggest benefits of habits. Learn what you need to.
That's right. So today's podcast is all about that.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about how mental habits are equally as important as physical habits. And really the underlying polarity, if you want to put a polarity lens on it like we always do, is being and doing. So again, you can have habits that you're doing, the more physical aspect of it. But the being really represents the thinking and putting intention behind how you want to be with your thoughts and creating new mental habits as well. So it's really important. And thriving, resilient, unstoppable leaders, or what we call true leaders, they not only take the actions to be that kind of a leader, but they have the mental habits that support and enable those actions. So it requires both the thoughts and the doing and the being and the doing. So now, if you're like most conflicted healthcare leaders today, you may have a belief that you don't even have time to stop to change your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
You have a lot of thoughts. We know that. You have a lot on your mind. There's a lot of challenges. And it's easy to think, I'm too busy to even stop to change how I think and change my thoughts. And you're busy putting out fires and running from one thing to the next. And also the other trend we pick up on conflicted leaders today is just the over-focus on doing, on achieving. Healthcare leaders are achievers.
They are. And there's so much to do right now, right? Like we don't want to minimize what you're experiencing in your environments and those types of things, right?
Right.
That there is tons to pay attention to and many actions to be taken for sure.
Yeah. So it's easy to kind of get caught up in the circumstances that you're in right now as leaders and to have a problem orientation where you have to fix the problem. So we get that as well.
And that's really kind of that external focus on the circumstances of what you're experiencing. That's natural. It's normal. And I think what creating mental habits are about going inside, right? So shifting some of that focus, not all of it, but some of it to the internal state, right? Where you can, so that your actions become even more beneficial to you because, right, you're matching the thinking with the actions that you need to take. So it's really kind of, moving into that. And, the challenges today are that there's been no playbook for what you've been experiencing as a leader, right? All of the ongoing challenges. There's just, nobody could foresee that this would happen and to be able to give you here's the path you take to manage and lead in these extremely challenging times through a pandemic, right? Through these resource challenges that you're experiencing, through, just managing and dealing with the staff and all their emotional and mental challenges and, right, their disconnect from their passion and all those things that are present. Nobody gave you a playbook for that. So we get that, right? That's a significant challenge. Those are the pain points that you're dealing with. And the truth is, though, sometimes, what's worked in the past may not get you through this either.
Exactly.
So, it's an opportunity to stop and think, to take on some new ways of thinking, take on some new ways of being so that you can manage these challenges. It's going to call everybody up, like lift ourselves up to that next level of leadership. And that doesn't just happen, right? You have to cultivate that. And these mental habits are a way to cultivate that. And, it's kind of like, using structured logical thinking, which we're used to doing as leaders,
right? And
solving problems, right? What's the logical approach? What's the structure to this? How do we move through it? And balancing that with kind of that flexibility, the intuition, right? Where you kind of go internally. It's like, what is my gut telling me is needed next? Because in some of these instances, that's what you got to go to. Because we haven't been here before. You're a pioneer, right? So you got to kind of use your intuition to get you to the next place.
Yeah, and you need to be mentally strong for that.
Yeah.
It's really, really important. Yep. So one of our favorite mantras is you get your habits. You get your habits. So just kind of put that in your head. You get your habits, whether they're good habits or they're bad habits. Yeah. And it's even good to just pause and even think right now, what are my mental habits? Maybe that's a question you haven't even asked yourself. I think that's what's so fascinating to us is you don't talk about this stuff. Mm-mm. You don't learn about it in school necessarily. So this is like a whole new awareness about your mental habits. And we want to establish mental habits that really establish you as a thriving, resilient, unstoppable leader and leverage that energy. Again, it's a both and. Leverage the energy between your mental habits and your physical habits, your being and your doing. And that's where the magic happens when you really tap into that.
Yeah, because, another statement we like to hurl out there into the world occasionally is your body won't go where your mind doesn't take it.
That's right.
So your body and mind are connected. And so that's why this is so important. And so we're going to talk about 6 mental habits that thriving healthcare leaders, thriving, resilient, unstoppable healthcare leaders develop. And the first one is just that habit of observation, awareness, reflectiveness, and just being awake, right, to their thoughts, to their feelings, just having that awareness as they're moving through the day, to go inside, right, to go inside and just observe and get more aware. Do you know you have more than 6,000 thoughts a day?
That's a lot.
And most of those, they're just happening. You're not even aware of it, right? And so this is really about true leaders pause enough to say, wow, where did that come from, right? Like they're just increasing their awareness. You're not going to catch every single thought that goes through your head. But when we are mindful and aware of our thoughts, then we can keep our thoughts on the things that are empowering us, things that inspire us, things that energize us, right? And so that's a big part of this. And becoming aware of the things that trigger us, right? When we do react, when we are having a negative experience or an emotion, right, that we don't want to have, it's really kind of that pause and awareness and observation to say, what triggered that? Where did that come from?
Where did that come from?
Where did that come from? Yeah. So that's one of the things that they do. The other is they master where they place their attention. So again, another mental habit is, where is my attention? And, this is so powerful, right? Because we can put our attention on the things that we can't control.
Right.
We can put our attention on all of the things that are happening around us. And looking at the problems, like we mentioned, there's a lot of challenges in front of you. You can have all of your attention on that, or you can say, yes, this is challenging, and what's the outcome we want from this? Where do we want to go next? How can we move through this to what we really want to achieve, and keep our attention on the outcomes that we want, right? Keep our attention on what's good about the situation. What are we learning in this? How is this going to elevate our practice? How is this going to elevate the care we're delivering, right? Yes, it's a new frontier, but keeping your focus and your attention on where you want to be and the steps to get there. What's just the next step we need to take? What can we learn from this? How can we leverage the strengths of our team?
Right. Or, I always like to do too is just, what do I need to do right now? Because there could be so much in front of you. Just what do I need to do right now?
Yeah. And if your attention is on all of it, then you're going to move yourself into overwhelm, right?
Yes.
And then that's going to drag you down, and you're not going to want to take the steps, right?
Right.
Body won't go where the mind doesn't take it. So again, right, you want to keep that. True leaders keep their attention on those positive attributes of what's happening and the outcomes that they want. Another is they embrace and operate from the characteristics of a true healthcare leader. So, what got you here maybe won't get you there. So they focus on what does a thriving, resilient, unstoppable healthcare leader, what characteristics do they embody? Who are they being in any moment in time? And they look to that, and then they step into those characteristics. They take on and embody those characteristics of a thriving, resilient, unstoppable leader. That's the only way you're going to get there. So mentally, they are already thriving, resilient, and unstoppable. And that leads to the actions that those kinds of leaders take. The fourth is they imagine their future as they want it to be, and they live it as if it's already happening. Now, that might seem like, yeah, right. How am I going to do that? Right? Yeah, that's a little woo-woo there, but it's true.
It's true.
Right? They see themselves as a thriving, resilient, unstoppable leader, leading a team that's thriving and resilient as well. And they just act as if that's already happening. They keep their attention on the things that point in that direction, and they keep their focus there. They keep their focus on moving forward, not getting mired down in the challenges and the things that are happening today. They don't ignore what's happening around them. They're very aware of the challenges, but they have that mental habit of thinking forward and not getting stuck in the circumstances, right? The other thing they do, which this mental habit is everything, I think, too, which is meditation and quiet time. So they routinely spend time just either being quiet, in silence, or in meditation. Now, that is so important, especially in the midst of the chaos, all the challenges, all of the noise that's happening around you on the day-to-day basis as a leader, especially right now. And that quiet time opens you up to even hear your thoughts, right? To even know what you're thinking. So that's one way to pause and really kind of, where is my head right now? What am I thinking? And it also it's really about letting in your intuition, letting it bubble up to you. What do I need to do next? Well, that's a great time to just pause, get quiet, give yourself a chance to have that come through. And we call them downloads from the universe, God winks, whatever you want to call them. But, it's kind of like sometimes when you're in the shower and you get that brilliant idea, right? This is the same thing, but they intentionally put time and quiet into their day so that they can connect internally, right? With their internal wisdom.
Yeah, it's a critical step. It's almost, I think of it as, and have come to appreciate it, it's like a training ground. So you can't go there, you can't tap into your intuition if you aren't almost training the silence, training that time of just emptying your mind. And then when you really create a habit out of it, you can go there quickly when you need to get an answer.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So it's a training ground.
Yeah. And you're creating the habit, right? And when you create the habit, then your brain will show up, right? It will know, okay, this is quiet. Where's the inspiration? Where's the ideas? Like it'll start to feed you what you need to hear inside your head about what the next steps are, right? So again, you're training yourself. And then the last but not least is they face every challenge with the question, is this a problem or a polarity?
Or both.
Or both. That's right. And so, they know that not every challenge they're facing is a problem that can be solved. They know that it takes a different level of thinking to leverage and manage, a polarity. And they know that they have to recognize that or they're going to waste time, money, and resources. So, that's their other mental game, right? Their other mental habit is to automatically ask, okay, what am I seeing here? Does this have a single solution or is there another interdependent component that is coupled with this this issue or this challenge that we're facing right now, right? Are there interdependencies that we have to pay attention to?
Yeah. So our call to action for you if you so agree to accept it, which we strongly advise you do, is first of all, again, think about your mental habits. And on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being not at all or 5 being totally, to what degree do you have mental habits? Are you aware of your mental habits? Do you focus on your mental habits? It's really important to do your own self-assessment when it comes to this.
And you can go back through the 6 that we listed and do it for each one.
Oh, yeah. That would be great.
Just go back through, just rewind, listen to the 6.
Yeah, because you could be at a different level with each one of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So do both.
Yeah. And then identify the mental habit that you think will help you the most right now and just focus on that one.
Yeah.
Right? Cultivate it, get into that training, thinking about it again, and just really work on one mental habit. That'd be a great place to start. Mm-hmm. And then create a strategy for implementing the habit. So that might be, how often do I want to, focus on this? What's my consistency? What is my goal in creating repetition when it comes to this mental habit? So create your own strategy when it comes to building it.
Yeah. If you're going to choose, let's say, quiet and meditation, just pick, a certain time in the day where you're going to spend quiet time and start with 10 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes, right? Just start someplace and then build on it, but do it repetitiously.
Yeah. That's what we always say. Just start with 1 push-up on a physical aspect. Just start with 1 10-minute sitting on a mental aspect.
Yeah, with no noise, no movement,
nothing.
Yep.
Don't be afraid of the silence.
No.
And then if you pick that one habit that you want to work on, we recommend that you track it for 67 days because that's how long it takes for a habit to become a habit.
Yep.
Takes time. It doesn't happen just once or twice. You have to put some intention on that repetition. And then pretty soon you don't even think about it. It just becomes a natural part of your routine. So,
Yep. Yeah, that repetition is everything. And if you do it for a little bit and you stop, you got to start all over again. Because it's that consistent repetition. You've got to get it hard. You're hardwiring it into your brain that this is what I do at this time of the day, or this is how I do this, right? And this is what happens when I do this. So, yeah, that's critical. Now, if you're not paying attention to your mental habits, right? Then what happens is you lack awareness of how you're actually holding yourself, how you might be holding yourself back based on where you are focusing your attention. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is too, right? You're going to end up in this time getting the same results over and over, not achieving the goals that you establish. Without that clear picture, without that understanding of where you're headed, what it is that you want, you'll start to drift or you'll get lost, right? Like you'll get lost. You won't know how to give direction. And many of the leaders that we talk to want to give direction to their team. They want to inspire them and they want to move forward. But if you don't do this for yourself, right, then you're not going to know how to direct that. You can also end up overthinking things. So, when you have these strong mental habits, you can start to become aware of when you're overthinking, right? When you're making too big a deal of something, right? Because you want to get it right so bad, right? You overthink it, and then it just stalls you and you don't act at all. Again, body won't go or the mind doesn't take it, right? And the other thing is when you don't have these mental habits, then the thing that happens is you're putting your attention on things that actually are depleting your energy. They're dragging you down, right? They're not moving you forward. And so without the mental habits, you can end up just focusing on the things that are dragging you down, which makes your situation worse, right? Makes you feel worse. And so you don't want that to happen.
Exactly.
No, we don't want that to happen.
Yeah. So, but imagine if you really put your time and attention on this and creating those true healthcare leader habits.
Yeah.
A few months from now, it'll really expedite your growth as a leader. And you'll become aware that you are the master of your thoughts. And, where you're putting your attention is a positive experience and it leaves you feeling energized.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've put that time and attention to it. And you start experiencing more and more success. Yeah. And really, you start to just really feel empowered. And because you recognize your contribution to it by paying attention to your mental thinking and your thoughts. And I think a key thing that you experience is you start to trust yourself and you trust your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And you just can let go of all of the doing and the achieving in those moments, because you just know it's coming to you all in the right time. You're balancing that being and the doing. And you're able in that process too to create that space in your mind of being able to differentiate between a problem and a polarity, which impacts the decisions you make.
Right. And the outcomes you get. It's all connected to the outcomes you get.
And the outcomes you get. Mm-hmm. And basically, as a leader, things feel a lot more manageable and lighter.
Yeah.
As a result of it.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
They definitely do. Because really, everything is an interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
Every experience you're having, you're interpreting it. So when you have a strong, powerful mental game, your interpretations of the circumstances you're experiencing shift. And they're more positive, right? And you can move more readily.
You can move through them.
Yeah.
Much easier.
Yeah. So true healthcare leaders, we've been working on this.
Mm-hmm.
And the leaders that we work with have been working on this. This is like a garden, right? You plant the seeds, you identify the mental habits that you really want to cultivate. You plant those seeds, you nurture it. You water it, you tend to it, you repeat it, right, to develop it. And then, over time,
mm-hmm.
you observe, you give more water, you fertilize, you pull the weeds as they start to creep up, get rid of those thoughts that you don't want, right, the mental habits you don't want. And it's a process. It's just all about a process. But with consistency and intention, you can cultivate these 6 habits that will lead you to being a true healthcare leader.
Yes.
And we're students of this. We practice this all the time.
Every day.
It's not about arriving.
Every day.
It's an ongoing practice. Yeah.
Yeah, every day. And you notice the impact on your own life. You notice it in those around you.
Yeah, because you change.
You change. Yeah.
You shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and we're always changing. We're always changing. Yeah. So we might as well have a mental influence on how that change is going to go.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
That's right. There you go. There you go.
Oh, gosh, that was great. What a great conversation. Yeah. We hope you enjoyed it. And we just want to thank you for joining us for another Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast. And if you're new to the show, and you found this very helpful, insightful, we just really encourage you to share it with your friends and your colleagues.
Yeah.
We're very passionate about getting this type of thinking and awareness out to leaders all over the world, actually. So think about someone that can also benefit from this podcast episode.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward. Surprise and delight them with, hey, I thought about you while I was listening to this. Let's follow up and have a conversation about it. And we also want to invite you to subscribe to our newsletter. So we do now have a newsletter in which we share with you every week kind of the missing logic of the week. And it's a way to keep on top of what we're doing at Missing Logic and what's coming up on our podcast episodes. And if you have not subscribed, you can go to our website, missinglogic.com/newsletter. And it's just a click of a button and you can subscribe. And we would welcome you to do that.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next time. And in the meantime, get those mental habits going and stay healthy and safe.
Yeah. See you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Healthcare's Missing Logic podcast, now a top-rated podcast for healthcare leaders. Please share this podcast with other healthcare leaders and anyone else you think would benefit. We are certain that if you found value in it, they will too. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any episodes. And also, it would mean the world to us if you took a quick moment to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast player. It helps to get the word out about our podcast and incredible guests. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to watch our podcasts. You can also follow us on our Missing Logic social media channels, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Until next time.